Welcome back to the show. This is Global Student Voices, and this is part 2 of the series with our intern Aiden Chin doing the interviewing and with me in the hot seat. I hope you enjoy it.
So the reason why I asked that because you are a coach at Global Student Solutions. So what is your coaching style with all the experience in the educational field?
Yeah, I mean, it's really about, I did have a sports background too. Like I grew up playing sports and really modeled my engagement with people after the coaches that I had grown up. And I coached a lot along the way. I coached soccer and basketball and some other things. So I really, I refer to myself as a coach because coaches come alongside to help you bring out the best in you, right? So that's my goal. When I'm working with a family or student, I want help them find their best them. And so they say, well, do you help students get into college in America? If going to college in America is a good place for them, then yes, I do. But if the best place for them to go is South Africa, then I'll figure out how to get them to South Africa. Or if the best place for them is Singapore, then let's figure out how to get into Singapore. Let's figure out who you are. Let's walk alongside with you, figure out what the world needs that you're going to help deliver, and then let's figure out how to prep for that. That's kind of the ideal model. In some cases, families reach out to me and they say, hey, we applied to a bunch of schools. She didn't get in anywhere. Can you help us figure this out? And so in that case, that's more prescriptive, like, okay, you've already done your high school preparation. Let's just figure out how to tell your story so that schools understand that you would be an asset to their university. Because that's what admission really is, right? It's really about saying this person should be with you, that you should be doing this thing together. And so helping students tell their story is really what I'm coaching, right? If it's exploring a career, then I come alongside, we talk about what you're good at. I know what the best assessments are and help you weed out. Let's say you want to be a really good basketball player, right? I did. And in my day, there was no internet to search. But I would just look at and try to follow people and try to do what they did and try to get good at it, right? Now with the internet, you have access to a billion of people that'll tell you exactly what you need to do to make better 3-point shots. That's awesome, except that the information sometimes is very contradictory. What works for Steph Curry in his shooting style and what works for somebody else are two different things, and neither of them are going to be right. I mean, I'm never going to be Steph Curry. I don't have the physical attributes. So helping people identify what are the tools that will help me individually, figure out who I am, figure out what I want to do, and figure out how to get there, and then do it. I'm naturally a discount person. I'm always looking for ways to save money. I like to not pay for things. I'm always looking for free and low cost resources and sharing them in a book form so you can get it for $10 instead of having to pay me an hourly rate is great. If you can afford to pay me an hourly rate, that'd be great. I'd love to make a living doing this, but I like to think of myself as kind of a coupon dealer. I like to figure out ways that you can save money, do this on a discount. And if you make some good choices, then this huge investment in education, which is totally worth it, like it totally pays back in time. But if I can help you find one more scholarship and you save 10 grand a year, that's great. That's a bonus gift. And so a lot of the coaching is about kind of investing early so that you can save later and get access to the right places. But again, it's different for everyone. So the coaching part is not the same drills for everyone. I want to come alongside and work with you and figure out what the right thing for you to do to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, that's good. Good. Last year, you and your wife, Angie, went to Africa. What part was
We
Africa?
went to Rwanda for conference and then on to Kenya.
And you and tell us what we were doing there.
Yeah, so the trip we already have a school that we work with GSS in Kenya. And so we try to get there at least once a year. But if we can get there every term, they're around 3 terms a year. If we can get there every term, that's obviously way better. And so this would have been our second visit to that campus and looking at other school options. If, as an organization, we provide services that help schools kind of bridge that high school to college gap. So whatever the school needs to bridge that gap, that's where we help out. So sometimes it's with content, sometimes, and that's what we do at GSS. We provide weekly Coaches Corner content. We provide these podcasts. We provide coaching to kind of help folks move along. So we do that for, in this case, a whole school. We're their college counselor. So just like many people in high school have a college counselor on their campus, in this case, we're not physically on their campus all the time, but we're available to them on the evenings and weekends, like when you're actually applying to college. So part of it was getting back in and reconnecting with them and spending a week with those students. But the Rwanda trip was a huge bonus. We went to the Association of International Schools of Africa's annual conference, and we got to meet tons and tons of
Mhm.
school leaders. We were trying to figure out like which of all these amazing schools around the world, how do we narrow that down? Like just marketing to all international schools is 14,000. We can't market to 14,000, can't afford to market to 14,000. But if we could narrow that group down, what would that look like? And so the conference allowed us to have some really good conversations with school leaders and really see that our market's really the smaller schools. It's not the schools with huge, multi-million dollar budgets. It's the smaller schools that exist because there's a real need and they need to be there. And those students at those schools deserve to have world-class college and career advice. But their school may or may not be able to afford it, or may or may not be able to have personnel there that have the training and access to the knowledge we have. So it's just like, that's who we want to help. Like
Yeah.
that's where we want to spend our
Mhm.
time and energy. And so that's our main audience. Global Student Voices have people listening from all kinds of different sizes of schools and that attend all kinds of different places for our services, our school services, whether it's the IT support services that Angie does or the school support services that I do. We're really looking at those small to mid-sized schools, and that meeting really solidified that for us. The second benefit of the trip to Rwanda was that we met with African Leadership University, which is many people, including myself, describe as kind of the Harvard of Africa. It's the very top tier students. It's a very exciting, innovative learning program that they have at the university there. 40 some countries represented on campus, and they're doing
Yeah.
just some really, really cool things. And so we were invited to go and present campus and to share some of our ideas. And we got to meet some spectacular students. And that's really been exciting open door for us now. We have 2 interns from ALU, which, fill out our group really nicely. And it was just exciting. Pardon the interruption. Thanks for listening to this episode of Global Student Voices. We're glad you're here. We try really hard to provide good content for international school leaders, parents, and students. But to know what you want to hear, we need to hear from you. So please reach out and let us know what you'd like to hear next. Now, back to the show. I really love college students, and so being back on a college campus was a huge win for me. I loved it.
Mhm. This is your biggest highlight of the Global Student Solutions. Do you remember your first time presenting from students, teachers, and like presenting from an audience under GSS? And tell us like how you felt.
Yeah. Wow, first time. I mean, I guess probably the first time I presented. So we formed GSS and we started reaching out to college campuses. And I was invited to, the first one was probably Wheaton University in Illinois. They're a relatively small, mid-size campus. And I was invited by the International Student Association to come up and talk to those students about just kind of how they create their own community. And then they invited me to share at their chapel was, I don't know, 3,000 or so. And I was like, okay, how do we talk about who we are, what we do? Like talking to a smaller audience, like talking to 50 international global students. That was great. Walking into chapel and saying, hey, you guys, this big community has a responsibility to all of these sub communities within this body. Like, what is it really like to be a healthy body? And as a university, you're a body politic, a body of individual students. And so I just got to share with that larger group about what it's like to care for and build community that is inviting to people of all kinds of different backgrounds, regardless of what you look like, a welcome ownership in your body to people who don't think like you or share your experiences and backgrounds. We talk a lot with people about what we're most comfortable and familiar with. What if they don't have that common language? Then how do you create commonality? That was the first time I shared about GSS. And I honestly, for years, I would share content like that and then forget that I was trying to run an organization that needed funding.
Yeah.
So would not mention anything about ways people could get involved or have membership or buy books or anything. Terrible at self-promotion on a financial side. To know that I was there representing this other group of students and representing their experience on a college, and then, as I continue to travel to other college campuses and have that same conversation, that was really powerful because, if you're a student at a school, it's hard to say, hey, you need to be more welcoming to me. Like, you can't say that. And you don't even think it. right? But the reality is you do. Like if you have people that, back in the day, colleges would close for the holidays, small college campuses, they would be closed for the holidays.
Mhm.
Like they would lock up the dorms and assume everybody was going to go home. You're from Nigeria, you're not going to home at Christmas or
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, right? If you think about that student and you can kind of
Mhm.
can empathize and say, how rude to say move to this country, live outside of your comfort zone, and by the way, find a place to stay when it's not convenient for us to keep your bedroom warm.
Yeah.
Like how rude, right? But the colleges weren't thinking about that. They didn't think about that student when they were making policy decisions like that. And being able to come alongside those universities and have those conversations about, are you making people feel welcome for real? And they'd say, oh, well, most of them are going to go and stay with their roommate or whatever. And I was like, that's great, but you can't say you have to. Like, there's a difference between nobody's staying here and nobody can stay here. Two different sets of words, and they mean different things.
Also, what if you and your roommate don't really get along? You don't really know that
Exactly.
person, you know.
I
Thing
like living with my roommate. I do not want to see him for all day, every day for a week.
yeah.
Like, I can't imagine their parents, but I don't want to know them either, right? So, yeah, it's great if you get an invitation, but you need to be free to say no.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's the reason why I asked that question, because usually your first time, you're happy to get it, your first moment, but then that could be the level of it can go well or it goes like super bad, and to the point that it affects you emotionally to the point it's like, oh, I can't do anymore. I it hurts too much. I give up, so
yeah,
forth. So that was basically like continue or end it. That was
yeah,
like the moment. So that's um, very crucial to
yeah,
anyone's career, anyone's
absolutely,
job, and so
absolutely.
forth.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want the plans for a 3-day weekend to be what derails somebody's future, and that sets them on a course to be miserable and unhappy. You want to do everything you can to create a good community, a happy environment.
Some topics or lessons or subjects do you cover then or currently right now? Because it's not like you talk about cultural differences between America versus the entire globe, but it's not like, are you focusing on history, math, science? I know you with the books you talk about, link reading and writing, but is it something else, other subjects?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at like the 6 pillars of university readiness, we're looking at a fairly well balanced. Whenever students or people get too focused on one aspect of something, that imbalance creates this break, a psychological
Mhm.
separation between them and what they can do. And so the 6 pillars is really about creating a much more balanced process. So we talk about, I mean, when I talk with families and stuff, we talk about diet and sleep. You have to be healthy. You got to take care of your physical body. Like it's important when you're in college. Now, I'm not a health expert, obviously. I'm a heavy overweight guy. But that's kind of a result of not knowing some things that I wish that I should have known. I mean, I created some habits that had I not created, I would be a healthier person right now. And knowing that ahead of time. And one of the reasons that colleges are looking for healthy people coming in is because they know that some of those habits, if you don't have them when you get to college, they talk about the freshman 15, but there's a lot of other psychological impacts that lead to dropout and suicide ideation and other really horrible health consequences that come out of not having good habits before you get started. So we talk about that. We talk about, academics is really a fairly small, I mean, it's just one of the pillars, but it's the one that everybody's talking about all the time in school, but really understanding your own strengths. So we talk about strength finders and personality and who are you and how do you relate to the world? That's important to know and doesn't get a lot of time and energy in most academic classrooms. So it becomes really important how you relate to the world, doing service and charity work and how important that is to character development and resilience, doing hard things, failing, getting back up, doing hard things again. Not a natural thing. Most of us just when we say, oh, we're not good at it, then we move on. No, you gotta, some of the things you're going to be great at are hard to learn and take a lot of hard work. So we talk about that. We did
Mhm.
talk about cultural identity and cultural competencies is really important for people as humans. is important. Like we can see very clearly the absence of cultural competency leads to a lot of really negative social consequences.
Mhm.
And so whether you're thinking of it globally or even in your local community, having strong cultural competencies is really important, but it's also important for an individual to understand who I am in this world. My complicated uniqueness is a differentiation. Like it's an important distinction for me as a human. And if I can articulate that, I can facilitate positive relationships with other people.
Mhm.
And so it's important individually, it's important for me in building relationships. And the more diverse our relationships are and our communities are, the richer our own life experience is. That's positive. It also makes the world a better place. I've always wanted to make the world a better place. And this is one of the ways the work we do is one of the ways we do that.
Okay, this is a closing question. What does GSS success look like from your perspective?
I think if we can, every time we influence positive choices with whether it's with our information or with opportunities, if we identify and we can help fill the gap. So one of the reasons we have interns is because so many people were saying, I can't get a job because I don't have any experience. And I can't get any experience because I don't have any experience. Like it's this horrible
Yes.
cycle. And so we said, well, the least we can do is offer internships. Let's just start with what we can do. We need to do stuff and people need experience. So let's create opportunities. So we do that. But the same is true of, I think in the not too distant future, I think there's an existing need for greater community. People need to be a part of things bigger than themselves. And the options that we have in society are a bit limited. And so I think there needs to be a place where people can call home, a safe place where people can be themselves and learn about themselves and kind of focus on these pillars that are really important for society and for themselves. And so I think the next phase for us is to establish some form of community where people can grow. And whether that's specifically toward preparation for university, or if it's in university, how to create community within their own campuses, or if it's just a network of like-minded folks who are trying to do better and make a better place and who share this kind of global experience, then that would be a huge win. I'll take the little wins along the way, but the big one would be creating some kind of community
Mhm.
for folks to live in.
Yeah, that's great. It's really great. That's really great to hear. Well, almost yes. That was all the questions I had for you. Thank you, Scott,
Yeah,
for
well, thank you,
taking
Aiden. I
this
really
interview.
appreciate the opportunity to talk about global student solutions and talk about global student voices. I hope we continue to make a difference in the world and in the lives of global leaders and students and families. And if there's certainly, as your listeners are tuning in, and if there's if there's gaps in their experience, they can reach out to us and let us know. That really informs everything that we've done and do. Every book we have, has come out of somebody said, I need this. I need something. And that's what we do. Appreciate it. Good luck with your internship.
Good luck with you.
I'm so grateful you stayed till the end. This was a great episode, and I hope it was really helpful to you. Again, we'd love to hear your feedback, but we also wanted to make you aware of some of the other ways that you can connect with Global Student Solutions. Global Student Voices is a service of Global Student Solutions. We also provide books and resources like you see behind me, as well as a variety of other services, educational content, and consulting. So we would love to connect with you. And at the very least, if you can follow us and subscribe on our YouTube channel. We also have a membership program coming up, and we'd like you to be the first member. So let us know, get your name on the list, and we'll make sure that you're the first to join the membership community. Thank you, and have a great day.